Cool. All right, got the green dot. Let me hit up Twitter real quick and let people know I'm live. Answering a subscriber's question about swiper.js. And let's check, I think it's this one. Ooh, how do I get the link? How do I get the link? No idea. Let's go to YouTube. Do that on a different tab. Let's see. Here it is. Share. Copy. Paste. All right, let's see what happens. That's done. Cool. What's up? So I got a question from Anfernie Grant. Says, great tutorial. Quick question for you. Let's say you have a section after the swiper slide section. Is there a way to remove or disable swiper.js after the last div in the slide reaches the top of the viewport so you can continue scrolling down the page? When you add another section after the slider, you can't continue scrolling. It's called an infinite scroller for a reason, or swiper. Let me know if that makes sense. It does. I have a prototype I can share to further explain myself. Actually, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. When I first built this for a client, they wanted this functionality as well. I got rid of it because I thought infinite was cooler, but you know, it makes a lot of sense that you actually want to show stuff on the page. So let's hop into how I would do this. I cloned my last project here, and this thing, swiper component, so you can see, since we know it's just gonna lump itself all together when we go live, I didn't care about the styling here, but let's just go ahead and drag a section in, not there, we want it up here. And I'm just gonna call this section, and we'll put some space in there. So we'll call this, I don't know, 200 VH, give it a height of 200 VH, and a color so that we know what we're dealing with. And you can see it's off here on the side, but all the other slide content is kind of cutting that off. So let's take our swiper controls wrap div, which has a height of 100 viewport heights, and we'll set it to overflow hidden. That way we're not going to see, oops, nope, not on that one. Let's put it on swiper component. This is the one I want to do it on. Overflow hidden. Let me zoom. Yeah, get the zoom. Overflow hidden. We come back and now we can see our content here. But the problem is if I publish this, and I come back and refresh, you know, we can still go through our swiper here, but we get to the end, there's no way to actually grab that. And, you know, if I was able to hover it with my mouse, I could probably get down there, but I can't. So we're going to have to fix that. And the way to fix that is using the swiper events API. So coming to their documentation here, they have I think a reach end event. Yep, so event will be fired when swiper reaches the last slide. And then they have these, what's it called? Release on edges. So we can set this property to true and it will release when we reach the end. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Let's just go ahead and code naked here. Probably going to make a bunch of mistakes doing that and regret it, but we're just going to do it and see what happens. Spoiler alert, I did do this before. So I can copy paste a little bit, but let's just try to do it and see what happens. So we want to get that reach end event. So I'm going to say swiper.on, and we'll pass the reach end event, comma, and let's open up a function. So, oops, we have our function here. And now what we want to do is let's go ahead and set a timeout, because we want to actually wait, like you want to reach the end and then you don't want to release the swiper until the user like actually has a second. And we want to do it also after the swiper actually animates. So we've got set timeout, and set timeout we know also takes a function. So let's put that in there. And now we're going to write our code. And so I'm going to call swiper.params.mousewheel.release on edges. So that's that parameter we looked at in the documentation equals true. And then I'm also going to say swiper.params.touch release on edges. This is for, you know, your mobile devices, equals true. And now set timeout also needs to know how much time to wait. So I could say I could hard code something like 800, but I've already set the speed of swiper transition in a variable. So let's just call that speed. And then let's maybe say like times 2 so that it has a little bit of time to, before the user is released, they have to wait just a little bit. Times 2 might be a little bit too long. It's going to depend on what your speed parameter is. You could like add 200 milliseconds here as well. So let's go ahead and save this. Actually, before, let me just go back to the code and zoom in so you can actually see it. It's probably pretty small. So swiper.on, reach end, we're running a function. We are running a function called setTimeout, and this is a function that waits a certain amount of time, in this case speed times 2, before executing these 2 lines of code right here. And these 2 lines of code, all we're doing is setting some parameters on swiper for release on edges and touch release on edges to be true once we have reached the end. Cool. Now we can save and publish and see what we get. Oh, Aunt Fernie, you're here. Nice to see you. I'm just checking in on the chat while we wait on the publish. See if this thing ever happens. Did you see the code already? Do you have any questions on that? All right, so here we go. We've got this live, scrolling to slide 2, slide 3, slide 4. And now if I'm scrolling, I'm just using my mouse, and now we've gotten to be able to be released. And that is pretty cool. So we could slide to the rest of our content here. Now if I come back up, you'll see as soon as my mouse gets in slider, that's when I have control of it now. So this is a little bit weird. And I think your use case, you said you want to just destroy the whole thing. So we can do that as well. So let's just get back to our code. Pop in here. Where are we at? Yeah, zoom in. And my strategy here is that once the viewport is, like once the slide is completely out of the viewport, that's when we're going to destroy the thing. And Swiper actually comes with a destroy method as well. Destory, not destory, destroy. This is one of those ones I always misspell. Anyway, so we're just going to call this method, and we'll do a couple other things with GSAP. I'm going to use GSAP scroll trigger to make it all happen. So, and I'll use a timeline because timeline requires, we need the timeline in order to use scroll trigger. So I'll say gsap.timeline, open close parentheses. Now timeline can take an options object. So we're going to give it that options object. And in here, I want to specify our scroll trigger. So we've got scroll trigger here, and that takes its own options object. So let me hit return just so I know where I'm at. I'm going to indent this. Man, coding naked is hard, or tricky at least. Sure, I think that's pretty good. And now we want to specify our trigger, and the trigger is going to be that div with the element or the class name of section that we made. And then we'll specify the start to be, let's use single quotes just to stay consistent. So when the top of the element with the section class is at the top of the viewport. And I think that's all we want to specify for our scroll trigger. So we've got scroll trigger sitting within the thing. And then after that, we want to actually call our, I'm getting lost with these things here. So let's see. So this curly brace is at the end of this one. This curly brace at the end of this one. Okay, cool. Now, instead of .to, I'm going to call .set, and we want to set our item with the class of swiper component, and that takes its own object as well. And we're going to set the opacity to, this is just like clearing everything off the screen, as well as the height to 0. And so this is all going to happen immediately. And then also we want to call that destroy function. So we can do that within an onComplete function as well. And within onComplete, I will call swiper.destroy. Guaranteed I messed something up here. Anyway, so what this is doing is our trigger is that section that we created. Let me save. Is this section here. So we're saying where was I? So we're creating a timeline, and we're specifying a, hey, what's up, Demetrius? Congratulations on your release. Looks super cool. I haven't checked it out. So in our timeline, we are passing a scroll trigger, and within the options of that, we're saying in our section, when that reaches the top, when the section element reaches the top of the viewport, then we want to set swiper component, which is the div that holds all of our swiper stuff. Set the opacity to 0, set the height to 0, and this onComplete is gonna trigger right away because of set, and we're just gonna run a function to call swiper.destroy. So let's save and publish. So I need the grid to column and vice versa. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay, let's see. Hopefully, see if I got it to work. I'm gonna scrolling, and it should still be there, but now, oh, notice the scroll bar just went, and now I can't get back up. So, Anne Fernie, I think this answers your question. You haven't spoken up in the chat, but that's okay. Maybe you're off solving your problem, making your client so happy. Demetrius, what did you say? You've got the inside tip in the comment. Man, I have no idea what you're talking about, so I'll hit you up on Twitter. All right, well, thanks for watching. That's just going to be a quick one today. Just wanted to show how to do that. So Anne Fernie can